I wasn't invited to my brother's fiance's wedding because I declined communion. When our older brother defended me, my brother attacked him. Some of my siblings are older than me 31F, yet we get along. I have 40M, 38F, and 27M siblings. Both of my older siblings and I are married. This is my younger sibling's wedding. My younger brother Luke is engaged to Emma, his 28-year-old girlfriend of a year. Emma seems nice, but we've never met. Clicked and are polite only. The fact that we are all Catholic, albeit not devout, and some are even lapsed, is noteworthy. I guess it started when I met her. Due to my younger appearance than Luke, my siblings have always joked that I am the genuine baby. It wasn't a problem until Emma, but most people think he's older than me. I told her I was delighted the baby had a genuine girlfriend when we met, and she sneered. She strangely tends to be the oldest in her family, and she didn't think I was older until I showed her my ID. Since then, she has alternated between mocking me and acting bossy. I ignore her since I don't have time to befriend her. I'm kind and civil and always include her in scheduled events, but I don't attempt. We chalked it up to different personalities, even though the family knew. Then wedding planning began. Emma's decision to exclude me from the wedding party was fine with me, since I wasn't married in church. She then requested her immediate family to submit their dress ideas so she could ensure they followed the wedding dress code, okay? Hope you get the point. I haven't had communion or confession in over 10 years. If I attend Mass, I sit or stand during the rites. I don't participate in out of respect. I must take communion at their wedding since she thinks this is insufficient. I declined, which upset her. As I usually avoid her. But this time I wouldn't say yes or risk it. I told her confession is required for communion, which I didn't want to do. She said everyone in my close family does it, and if I don't, it will be dreadful. I promised her that was fine, and that I would attend communion in front of everyone without confession. She said I wasn't invited to the wedding if I wanted to ruin her day. Would be my viewpoint. Thanking my brother, I gave him the thumbs up and went home. My family understands my argument and supports everyone's decision, but I shouldn't have said what I did. I told them I don't owe Emma a life explanation and don't want to attend the wedding anymore. Only because my grandma had heard what happened and urged me not to insult the church by taking communion without confession did I call her. I promised not to do it, so she's good with me. When my brother texted me to compromise, I asked how. If other lapsed people had to confess too. He declined because it was only nuclear family. Since she's older than the kids, she acts this way around me and them, which makes me giggle. AITA? Happily, NTA died in 1564 and made Emma Pope. The original poster responded, "Oh, I see. I'll tell my granny about this next time we talk. The girl will love it. Please inform the priest of her activities. Beautiful report 58. He'll stop her. She cannot adopt non-church rules. I would swiftly email him and let her handle the aftermath. Oh no. After thinking about it, I doubt I will since my grandmother may do it. She knows the officiating priest and isn't happy with the whole shit show, but she didn't want me to be nasty, despite her transgression." October 26, 2024, Update 1. Despite some progress, I wouldn't call it positive. I want to clarify something I read in the comments. No communion cue or special blessing for me. Highlighting me is more essential than blessing or compromise. At weddings and other events, I usually stay quiet or receive a family blessing. I'll compromise. But Emma's absurdity bothers me. Since I'm not a youngster or adolescent, I don't see why she thinks thus. She rules over her two younger sisters. I've seen her respond differently with younger people, so she has issues. My grandma hosted lunch today, and the altercation happened on Tuesday. I think you should know my brother's complicated relationship, as in they're less close than other siblings. Since Luke is an adult and can handle relationships, my older brother Robert, who is forthright and has never liked Emma, didn't want to intervene. I guarantee this will be relevant. Since Grandma lives alone, we spend a lot of time with her because we adore her. Since she's beyond this turmoil, we were there today. She advised us to clean the air after lunch, which was more like snacking. Emma claimed that I was impolite and that she only wanted the bare minimum. Emma, like me, said she was her elder, and that her reasons were more than a tantrum when my grandma asked her why she didn't mind her not accepting communion. She further stated that she was asking all siblings to do this and that I was the only one disagreeing to her little request. For her, everything fell apart here. As I mentioned in the comments, Robert also lapsed and was exhausted. She looked like a captive child when he asked her why she didn't worry he wasn't getting communion. Her response was inappropriate. Robert then asked her why he and Grandma were behind. Her head shaking, she looked to Luke for help. Luke remained mute, gazing at Robert and me. Robert told Emma he caused Grandma's lapse. Our grandparents were Catholic, so Robert was worried about their reaction when he came out as gay as a teenager. When she told her church's then pastor, Grandma felt worse. The conventional priest told her Robert was sinning, going to hell, needed to find his path, and such nonsense. Grandma didn't like it and spent more time with her grandchildren than at church. She rejoined the group. She stopped receiving the sacraments after years of community. She appreciates some church aspects but cannot reconcile with her. Emma was confused since Robert married a woman. He stated that he is bisexual and may have dated a man. He added that she didn't care that they weren't married as I did. He directly asked her about her problem with me. In conclusion, she said I was rude from the start and mistreated Luke. I was also sarcastic about looking younger than her. Crickets. Still don't get her preoccupation. But she wants everyone to know I value her thoughts. Successful and attractive she is. She cried and accused me of turning my grandmother against her when I laughed. She always sided with me, and my grandmother told her to stop blaming people for her negativity. Luke was angry and asked her why she didn't support him becoming a lapdog for a strange woman. She said she didn't. More was said, but nothing was settled. I kind of declined the invitation because Grandma isn't sure she wants to go to me again. My older siblings told Luke they would attend the ceremony if he sought marital therapy. My folks are clearly annoyed with Emma and have headaches. Oh. The priest informed Grandma that he would not perform without more premarital counseling. He's old enough to change his life. But I hope they don't marry. Thanks for letting me vent. My granny loved the Pope joke. Regarding Op's comment, KILOLL, I hope your brother might reconsider marrying MS. Entitled and controlling after premarital counseling. Good luck. Ironically, TripAdvisor 48 reports that Catholic couples must complete pre-kana before marrying. The training prepares couples for marriage by studying its practical, emotional, and spiritual aspects. People I know who have experienced it say the priest or deacon also evaluates couple compatibility. Although my cousins took 6 months, I think it varies by diocese. Second update. October 28, 2024. I terminated ties with my brother since he's gone too far. He made our grandmother cry, and I think many of his ties were irreparably damaged. Some of my cousins and other relatives no longer support Emma or me, even if they originally thought I was being stubborn and causing trouble. Maybe he's always felt this way, but his problem with Robert is ludicrous. He contacted Grandma to dispute her comment about him becoming Emma's lapdog, which enraged him. Luke confirmed what Grandma said, even though I wasn't there for the talk. He told her that asking Robert for help was ridiculous because he was her favorite grandchild, and that he would persuade her to support me despite my errors. He also told her she had left her religion for him, showing that many cousins shared this belief. Other LGBTQ family members were claimed by him. Most weren't born when Robert came out, so they weren't sure she'd do it. Grandma contacted each granddaughter to see how they were doing, and told Luke a piece we didn't know. She said the old priest had hinted at correcting Robert when he came out and she talked to him. Robert and Grandma had heard frightening stories from these places and told my parents it was impossible. Grandma wanted to be prepared even though my parents are casual Catholics and never meant to send Robert there. I was told Grandma sounded like she was crying over the phone, and the group chat took off after the first few calls, which were made in order, youngest to oldest. Robert, our LGBTQ relatives, and my cousins who told me to stop being stubborn are upset and accuse Luke of lying. I went up for my call after leaving for Grandma's. Sarah, my youngest relative, and 2 others were there. 16F was ready to fight Luke. After she asked whether I was making fun of her, I described the mental image of her trying to hit him, which she found amusing. Sarah is around 35 cm shorter than Luke, so the idea of her swinging at him made me laugh, would have delighted to give Luke. I concealed some common sense from her. My granny, who has undergone much, does not deserve this. She has a bloated face and asks others if they feel unwanted, saying she would do anything to help us. Explaining how she loved the other grandchildren despite Robert being the oldest. Although she is tough, I think the idea that she hurt her grandsons broke her. It was a shit show, and I was over Luke. Since I asked, my parents had been indifferent, but after discovering what had happened, they said they needed time apart from him. Robert stopped talking to him because he was disgusted. Luke explained why Emma's help was needed, and managing us might be helpful if we let her. This was shared in the cousin group chat. He also said Robert always wanted to be the focus of attention and never cared about him or others. His mention of his coming out, marriage, and child was ludicrous. Only our parents and grandparents knew Luke came out as a toddler for years. When he texted his now wife to announce his marriage, he didn't take anything. The birth of Luke's child 4 months before graduation seems to have worried him, as he never addressed it. Perhaps. Despite being self-centered and bigoted, Emma calls his reaction BS. All the cousins have been babysat, schooled, and rescued by Robert. Not perfect, but not the clever jerk Luke seems. Luke may have made a last attempt, or Emma misled him so much that he is unable to return, or Luke has always felt inadequate, and we didn't know. No longer relevant. I hope he marries Emma or receives therapy. He broke many relationships and caused a lot of suffering, so I don't think this will end soon, regardless of his decision. Helping my grandmother feel better is my priority for now. Emma's situation with me started this whole thing, and I feel guilty. Despite knowing better, it's hard to resist. Comments the op answered, 25-year-old lizard girl. Wow, that, Luke seems to project. The scheming jerk says, edit this online stranger wishes your grandma and family well. At a party, Sarah would contact her elder cousin Robert for a safe transport if she was drunk. His arrangement is confusing because he did it for Luke too. Ghost 3022 is unreasonable behavior that cannot be rationalized. Luke is so irrational that you will never understand him. You can only hope he quickly removes his head from his ass and receives actual therapy. Oop. If he apologized and pleaded for help, I would be there in 2 seconds. He knew he was hurting Grandma and Robert when he spoke without her. Robert is dissatisfied with the situation despite not sobbing. The photographs of him cradling us as infants show that he always looked out for us. That adorn his wall. This is ridiculous, even though I knew the brothers weren't close. Did Pride of Cape Town capture Luke's true feelings? Could Emma be poisoning him to isolate himself from family and friends? Regardless, he's a jerk. You, your grandma, and all cousins should skip this wedding. No one has attended his wedding yet. Though they lean toward not going, my folks aren't sure if they'll attend. November 4th, 2024, Update 3. Grandma is feeling better. Despite it being online, I'm grateful of her supporters' numbers. I've mentioned this in a few discussions and direct messages, but Emma's issue is being herself, not being parentified or being Catholic. Premarital counseling was planned, so it was complimentary. Some cousins live farther away, but we chat. The update is basically to let people know that Grandma is doing well, had fun with my cousin Sarah, and is healthy. Good. I also want to update our maternal family and relations. The paternal relatives of Grandma's side feel awful about keeping Luke out of festivities, so they agreed to invite him to everything as long as people don't have to mingle. The older relatives like the younger generation. Sarah, my youngest cousin, said she was cool with everything but asked that he be kept away from her because she couldn't tolerate him. A shit show for our maternal side was necessary. Some were agitated, but others persuaded me to gain his perspective. My mother told them everything, and some resented her for making Robert the family star. Although utterly inappropriate, this caused some family issues, especially when one of my maternal cousins asked me if I could act decently if I was seated at Luke's wedding table. We wonder, is this cousin who Robert has saved twice the problem? Haven't chatted much about my sister Lucy because she never contradicts herself. She was close to Emma and Luke before the controversy. Her dissatisfaction led her to withdraw. She was obsessed with Luke, her younger brother, even though she was never supposed to babysit. I know this since Mom told me as a child. It was hard before, but now because her kids are my pals, we get along. She was angry about everything, but she lost it when our maternal relatives, or part of them, excused Luke. She's the kind. Annie, someone you don't expect to criticize, but she did, and I think that was Luke's final straw. She made a lengthy article detailing everything that had happened, challenging anyone who disagreed to come at her. She included every eye roll, filthy word, and insult. She sent it to several individuals since she was tired of the half-information phone game. She knows she shouldn't, but she wants time to process her feelings, so she won't talk to me. She is furious with me since my refusals created this. Luke was on his own after skipping the wedding, my parents told him. Always willing to help, there were no money issues, but since it was unnecessary, because Luke and Emma are well positioned. Move on to the only conflict I care about now, and what most people want to know. My granny feels better because to Sarah's encouraging presence. It was lovely to watch our oldest and youngest in sync, as they always have been. Her December birthday party will include Luke after much negotiation. See if he shows up. My granny was thrilled when I told her the joke about the knife, sword, etc. Thank you. I still say Robert will get Sarah if she needs him. I may have overlooked the fact that he gives her a bizarre speech and an even stranger one regarding drug evaluations. As noted, he is not perfect but not a jerk. He has my sister's photos on the newborn wall. He collected all the photos people took of him holding the new family members after he bought his own home.